Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 160 of the Let's Play world. Between episodes, I did a bunch of mining of deep slate, and I went around and lit up everything around our base, so we're going to get some work done on the circle today. So as of when this video posted, this is the Friday before Minecraft Live. So I am very excited about that, and we will talk a bit about that as well. As you can see way down there, I've got torches kind of spammed all over the place. So this is pretty well lit up. And like I said, I gathered up a bunch of deep slate. So I want to do a little bit of work on the wall. I don't think we're going to finish it today, but I do want to kind of come up with a little bit of a design so we can kind of imagine what it's going to look like when it's finished. One thing I want to show you before we leave the base, if we run downstairs to my messy storage room, you can see here, we've started to collect some wool. And actually what I did is I ran over there and I dyed a few of the sheep green. 6 of them to be exact. So we will start getting some green wool in here. Up on our wall of task, there is a suggestion to do a beanstalk. And so I thought some green wool might be useful for that. As far as all this, I think I've just got some leftovers from projects. This is the stuff we found in the Bastion Remnant. So like I was saying, good stuff last episode. Some ancient debris, a couple of gilded blackstone, a pig step disc, a Soul Speed 3 book. We found the netherite upgrade, and we found the snout pattern. So that's a pretty cool find. Golden apple is always nice. Some golden carrots are nice. A little bit of gold. So that's fantastic. Here we just got some wood. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and we're going to head down here and do a little bit of design work. Wanted to fly out back towards the lodge. The lodge is where we first came into this area. We built a portal and then built this lodge up here. And the lodge is based on the lodge from The Shining. And if you've ever seen the movie The Shining, one thing about that story was there was a hedge maid. And I just wanted to point out, little itty bitty hedge maids right here. One of the suggestions I got, I think it was from Auntie Nick, was to build a hedge maze in one of the formal gardens. This one, it's not actually much of a maze. It's actually a little bit more of a labyrinth insofar as that we can just follow it and it will take you through the entire thing and out the other side. The other thing that's kind of cool is underneath this snow layer here, there are leaves. So nothing can really spawn in here. So yeah, you can see we just walked the whole thing. So that's kind of a neat thing. But yeah, a maze might be a cool thing. You know, something that you can actually get lost in or something that has a solution. This one, if you see it from up above, it's perfectly symmetrical. So not quite a maze, more of, like I said, a labyrinth. But we will get to that eventually. You know, once we start actually building these formal gardens. Like I said, today let's start with the wall, and let's start also talking about Minecraft Live. This weekend, Minecraft Live, we're going to get some announcements, and it's also the mob vote. And mob vote, you know, in general, I've got some opinions about that. And as far as which mobs to vote for, I've got some opinions about that as well. So let's first talk about the mob vote. This year we've got 3 mobs, and there's a couple of interesting things about them. One of them is that they are all real animals. You know, some years they do more like fantastical creatures like the Allay or like a golem, but this year they are all real. You know, they are actual creatures that exist in the real world. So that's kind of a cool thing. Another thing is they're all kind of utility mobs, which I quite like, when the mob doesn't just, you know, kind of exist, but it does something interesting in the world. So I'm excited about that. And then this year, they each kind of have a different utility based on kind of how you play the game. So this last week, I asked you who you're going to vote for, and the results were pretty interesting. Oftentimes there's one mob that's just kind of out ahead of the other two, but this year it's pretty even. The crab was a little bit behind, but the armadillo and the penguin were both kind of neck and neck. So what's interesting about the crab? And then the crab has a little bit of a utility. The idea is that the crab's claw will allow you to place blocks farther away. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, and that implementation could really make or break this mob. If it's something that you just have in your offhand and it allows you to place blocks further away, that'd be great. But if it's a tool where you have to actually like pick up a block and then place it, like that would just be absolutely useless. And I also don't know if it allows you to break blocks further away. I haven't seen anything on that. I don't know that you would be able to hold your pick with the claw, so as far as like mining farther away, I just don't understand the mechanic, and so I don't know. But if you're a builder, that sounds pretty intriguing, to have a thing that gives you the ability to place blocks further away. So then we've got the armadillo, and the armadillo is going to live in warm climates. They showed it in the savanna, but it sounds like it's also going to live perhaps in the desert or other warm biomes. And the armadillo is going to drop scute, similar to the way that the turtles do. I don't know if the mechanic will be exactly the same, like it will drop it when it grows up. I don't know if that's the way it's going to work. It might be that you have to kill the armadillo to get the scute. We'll find out. But this scute is going to be useful because it will allow you to create armor for your wolves. Now, this sounds really cool to me, mainly because it gives you some customization and protection for your pets. Now, it has been pointed out that most of the time, wolves don't die in battle. They die because they walk off a cliff, or they get burned in lava, or friendly fire, or things like that. So there might be some other things that need to be addressed as far as the wolf mob goes. But the thing that's intriguing to me about this is that it kind of gives you a reason to go out and kind of build a wolf army. Now, similar to the experimental features that they're doing with the villagers right now, where villagers in certain biomes will trade certain things, I'm very excited about that. Something that would challenge me to play the game in a new way, I'm really into that. I think that would be just a cool thing to build, highways between different villages to create a wolf army. That just all sounds super fun to me. And again, we don't know all the details. Is it kind of like horse armor where it's just one thing you put on the wolf, or is it different pieces, like a helmet and a chest piece that you would put on the wolf? Can you put trims on them? Can you use different materials or different colors? We don't know. But it all sounds very exciting until I heard about the penguin. Now, the penguin is going to live on the stony shores. They describe it as a clumsy mob, and then explain that it will make your boats go faster. So they sort of describe it as like a dolphin's grace, but for your boat. Again, we don't know how the mechanic works. Is it just if they're in the water, then the boat goes faster? Do you have to have the penguin in the boat with you? We don't know. Now, one thing that's a little bit goofy about this mob is how they describe it as clumsy, because the stony shores are pretty steep and rocky. And so I'm wondering if these penguins are just going to fall down the rocks and die. You know what I mean? Is it going to be the kind of mob that will be sustainable? We don't know. They also didn't talk about whether or not there would be any drops associated with the penguin. Would it give anything useful? Is there anything farmable? We don't know. So all we know is that the penguin will make boats go faster. It lives in the rocky shore. That's it. And so like I was saying, each mob has a perk for, each type of player. If you're the kind of player who likes to do a lot of building, the crab might be really, really interesting to you. If you're the kind of player who likes to do role play or world building, then the armadillo might be a really neat thing for you. And then if you're the type of player who likes to exploit mechanics and that sort of thing, the penguin sounds pretty awesome. For me, I personally am going to vote for the armadillo. I think it sounds the most interesting as far as a mob and as far as what it offers the game. You know, it adds something new to the game where the crab and the penguin don't. They both introduce mechanics and effects, but they don't really add a new item per se, unless you want to count crab claws as an item. But the idea of pet armor, that's pretty intriguing. And I think it would be kind of cool just to create armies of wolves that you could take with you and that you could put armor on. That just sounds like a fun thing to try. So as far as the mobs involved in this mob vote, that's my opinion on those. Now, my opinions on the mob vote itself. Honestly, I'm not a big fan, and I'll tell you why. I love the spirit of the mob vote. You know, the idea that the community gets involved and gets to help shape the game. You know, don't get me wrong, I think that is a very cool and noble thing. I'm glad that Mojang does that sort of thing. I think that's super fun. But my problem is basically you get to see 3 things and you end up with one of those 3 things. So they're really showing you 2 things that you're not going to get. And that's a big bummer, you know? It's really a drag to see 3 really cool, interesting features and then choose which 2 you're never going to get. There's been some pushback from folks, you know, who say things like, you know, the modding community can make a mob in a weekend. Why can't Mojang do this? And I understand that there's a lot of subtlety and, you know, for example, a mod, if it doesn't work, who cares? But if the game doesn't work, that's a big deal. So they have to make sure that things are well thought out and stable before they can add them to the game. I get that. You know, the game Magic the Gathering, the card game, they add things in all the time. Now, obviously, there's no code happening or anything like that. It's just cards. But they really think out the world building part of the game and do a fantastic job of making it feel like any sort of addition that they do kind of belongs in the game. And so I think that would be a cool thing to take inspiration from. If each of the updates was based in the lore of the world. You know, why are we adding this update? Many of the updates have been quality of life. You know, we're adding more color or we're adding redstone, things like that. But things more like the Village and Pillage update or when they added the Deep Dark, that kind of stuff, it builds the world, it expands the lore, and I think that is a really, really cool thing. I would love to see more of that. Now, one thing I can't stand is these people and these YouTubers who just complain. They hate the mobs. They hate the mob vote. And they just complain. There's nothing that makes them happy. And they feel completely entitled to gripe about this game that they bought 10 years ago and gets supported for free each year. I just think that's ridiculous. But for some folks, that's what gets the views, I guess. You just have to be loud and a contrarian and boo-hoo, I deserve better, Mojang owes me, and I just think that is a terrible attitude to have. Now, if I was in charge of the mob vote, I'd tell you what I would do. First and foremost, I would only show people things that they're actually going to get. Because like I said, nothing is more of a bummer than seeing a cool mob and then knowing it's never going to be in the game. And at this point, there's a lot of them. I think we've had 4 or 5 mob votes. And so that means 2 mobs from each of those. So, you know, we have like 8 or 10 mobs that we've seen that aren't going to be added to the game. What I would do instead is present all of the mobs that are going to be added to the game. So let's say we're going to add crabs. What I would then do is have people choose what kind of crab. You know, there's going to be a mob it's a crab, and its claw is going to be useful in this way. Now, do you want hermit crabs, or do you want Dungeness crabs, or do you want snow crabs? You know, if there's a mob like an allay or a golem, have the community choose what color it is or what material the golem is made out of. But don't show them a bunch of features and then say, sorry, you're never going to get this. Lastly, I just wanted to say something about Minecraft Live in general, and that is, I think Mojang have learned some lessons. Over the last couple years, they did a few things that were obviously mistakes. You know, they overpromised, underdelivered, they showed some features that just didn't make it in, and they just showed too much of their hand. Last year, with the introduction of experiments in Java and kind of rolling out some of the features to immediately interact with and then unveiling more features as the game developed, that was really smart. And I highly suspect that's how this year's Minecraft Live will go as well. They'll show us a few things that are almost ready for prime time, and they'll add them in as either a snapshot or experiment. And then, once we get a couple months down the road, they'll introduce a couple of newer features, work out a few new mechanics, and we'll end up with an update 1.21 that'll be really, really well thought out and well developed. So the mob vote starts 48 hours before the event, and then on the 15th, we will learn what's coming to Minecraft. And you know, like I was saying, I hope we get more stuff that makes me want to reset my world. I really want stuff that makes me want to play the game different. Because I could do this forever, you know? I could build farms and stuff like that. But if they introduce something like the villager trading system, like dog armies, I would love to start a fresh new world and approach this in a different way. I just think that would be a super cool thing. So anyway, that's my 2 cents about Minecraft Live and the mob vote, and we'll see how it all plays out. As far as this goes, I'm kind of liking it. I want to put a gate on each of the 4 sides so that we have a way of getting in and out of the circle. We'll put some lanterns hanging here. Might put a lantern here, I'm not sure yet. And I definitely need to texture this up. It's pretty flat, it's just all bricks. But I think it's looking pretty good. You know, like this side here is totally spawn proof. And so if I was to do that on this side as well, I think that'd look real good. Once we get going a little further, I might replicate some of this, but most of this, especially when we get over here where it's only 1 or 2 wide, it's just going to have slabs or walls on top. And that way we'll keep our entire wall spawn proof. Okay, I'm feeling really good about that. Textured it up a little bit, put some lanterns, a couple of stairs in here to make the wall look a little bit rougher. And then I did the tiles here because I think that makes it look a little more finished and formal. So I quite like that. I'll probably do almost exactly the same thing on each of the 4 sides. Maybe minor variations in texture and stuff like that, but the same idea. A little fence gate situation, some lights, and a little gate that goes into each side of the circle. The one over there I think will be pretty simple. The one over there will be nice and easy. Not so sure about this one, because we got this big hill here. This one might look a little bit different. Not sure. Maybe we will build some sort of stepped garden or some terraces. We'll have to figure that out. But before I build this one, I want to kind of figure out, what is this going to look like? And speaking of what's this going to look like, we had talked a little bit last week about this area here that's just real low, and we have this sort of edge here of our water. And an idea I got from one of my viewers was to allow the water to spill out and then have a little bit of a river. And I think that's a super cool idea. We could, dress this up a little bit so it looks nice and natural, like it just kind of naturally eroded over, and then fill this all up with water. We would probably want to seal this up. So this little cave situation that we were exploring, we'll put some blocks over the top of that. And then here, what I would probably do is dig in a little bit, make this look a little bit ruined, and just have the water kind of disappear underneath it. So it looks like maybe the earth is swallowing it up or something like that. We'll just have to see how that goes. Might do a little bit of water on the other side just so it looks natural, but I think that would be a really cool look. Now, as far as our area for the formal garden, again, this is smack dab in the middle of it. So that torch right there by the pig, that's the edge. And as you can see, the river will kind of encroach on part of this formal garden. So we could do that in a very intentional way where, you know, the garden is around the river, or we could also incorporate it so that it looks like the garden was washed away or something like that. Not sure if I like that idea, but we'll just see how it kind of plays out once we start putting water in here and what it all looks like. This here feels like the center, and so I think I'm going to have the water mostly just spill over here. Not all the way across, just sort of a controlled waterfall. And then behind the water, I think I want to do stone. Maybe a little bit of cobble just to kind of mix it up, but I want it to look natural, like it's, you know, a rock formation or a rock wall that the water is flowing down. Let me work on that for a little bit and see what we come up with. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I do want to go in and texture it just a little bit. I don't know if we'll even be able to see it, but just doing a little bit of that sort of thing really goes a long way as far as making your world look just more lived in, more alive. Okay, that's a good start. And then what I'm going to do is right above the stone, I'm just going to pull this dirt layer here and let the water run over and see what happens. Now, I imagine we'll come in with leaves and things like that, and we'll texture all this up as well. Right now, I'm just worried about the water part. So let's see what happens here. Pull this one. Go. Pull this one. Let's jump down there and take a look at this. Before I pull these leaves, I just want to see what this looks like here. Nice, yeah. A little bit of a happy accident there. That's kind of cool. So as the water covers all of this, this will hopefully turn from grass to dirt. So that'll look a little bit more like a riverbed or a creek bed. And yeah, like I was saying, we'll probably do a little bit of texturing around here with some leaves and things to make it look a little more natural. Next thing I'm going to do is just go through this whole space here with my water bucket and just add lots of source blocks and get this to all fill up. Well, from down here, this looks pretty great. If you want to know more about source blocks and how I'm filling up a whole river like this, I made a video on it, and I will leave a card up in the corner and a link in the description. And as you can see, the grass is slowly turning into dirt, which I think will look way better. And as I was mentioning, we're going to do a lot of decorating, so mostly just worried about the water at this point. But so far, so good. There we have it. Take a look from up here. Nice. Little bit of a rapid or a, smaller fall here. And down to this area. And like I said, we might do something where it's like dipping under the wall, or like the wall's been eroded a little bit. I think that'd be a cool look. Very nice. Let's take to the air here and check it out. See what it looks like from way up high. Yeah, I like that. Very nice. Once we get some, vegetation and some little rocks and things going along the shore, that's going to look really fantastic. One thing I'm curious about, let's run up top and update the map real quick. Because I want to see what that's going to look like here. So let's see, we're kind of here. Let's that off there. Ooh, nice. Yeah, I like that a lot. Very cool. Once we get those gardens in there, we're going to start to get some color and some geometry, and this space is going to look much, much more interesting. And like I said, we'll do a formal garden here, we'll do one here, we'll do one here, and we'll do one here. And then in those spaces between, like this here, we're going to have a little river. Over here, we could do a little project. In this corner, we could do a project. And over here, we could do a project. And I think that's where I'm going to wrap this one up. I hope you all have fun watching Minecraft Live this weekend. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have fun. Please like and subscribe if you want to follow along on the adventure. And I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.